Welcome to this live chat. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning to the world. Wherever you are joining me for this live chat, I welcome you on board to discuss this topical issue in Nigeria, which has to do with how the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu is spending the resources of Nigeria. In this live chat, we are going to talk about the abandoned mansion of the Vice President and the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Nyesom Wike's dogged determination to spend a whopping 15 billion naira to build a fresh new residence for Vice President Kashim Shettima. Now, what many Nigerians do not know is that there is an uncompleted vice presidential residence that had been abandoned for over a decade after gulping over 6 billion naira. And instead of completing it, the new Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Nyesom Wike, is proposing to build an entirely new structure for the Vice President in the 2024 budget of the Federal Capital Territory Administration. Now, let us go through memory lane so that we will be able to appreciate what we are talking about. In 2009, the Federal Executive Council, under the leadership of late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, had in 2009 approved 7.1 billion naira contracts for the design and construction of a new official residence for the Vice President. Announcing the Federal Executive Council approval for the project to journalists, the then Minister of Information and Communication, late Professor Dora Akunyel, she said, Council gave approval for the award of contract for the design and construction of the residence of the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in 3-arm zone, Abuja, in favor of Messiah's Julius Berger PLC with 20 months as completion period. The new edifice was designed to comprise the following: Vice President's house, Vice President's ADC's house, his Chief Security Officer's house, and the boys' quarters, a mosque, a chapel, security quarters, boys' quarters, gatehouse, among others. Explaining why the building of a residence for the Vice President was considered a priority then, the Minister of FCT at the time, Adamu Alero, said the Vice President is staying in a guest house, Agoda House, meant for visiting heads of states. Alero said, it is not right, it is not befitting for the President, for the Vice President of Nigeria to be living in a guest house. He said it was not befitting for the Vice President to be living in a guest house. He said that the former administration decided to give the house of the Vice President to the Chief Justice of Nigeria, which was in line with what was contained in the Abuja Master Plan. It became imperative for us to provide accommodation for the Vice President. The Vice President has no accommodation. Certainly, you will agree with me that it is unbecoming for any government not to provide accommodation for its Vice President. We will now embark on the construction of a befitting residence for the Vice President. This statement was made by Alero, the then Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Now, at least 6 billion naira has already been spent on this edifice, which the former Vice President, Yemi Osibanjo, once described as misapplication of funds. Now, work at the project had reached advanced stage before it was stopped. There are fears that some of the facilities that have been fixed, including the split air conditioning system, some of the structures may have developed technical faults, thereby rendering them unusable. Former Vice President Yemi Osibanjo had in 2016 said the project will not be abandoned despite being a waste of resources. Osibanjo, who said that the 6 billion naira already spent on it was a misapplication of fund, added that with the level of construction already done, it will be completed and considered for use. Osibanjo said, there is no need for a new residence for the Vice President as the current one called Aguda House is up to standard with enough space and well managed. There is no need for a new Vice President's house. It is a kind of waste. We are now in a situation where we cannot abandon it. It has to be completed and used for a different thing. The former Vice President, Yemi Osibanjo, said in February 2019, while responding to questions at the Pastors and Leaders Retreat of the Fountain of Life Church, Ilupeju, Lagos. It was gathered that the Federal Capital Development Authority, FCDA, abandoned the project after the refusal of the 7th Senate to accept the inflation of the contract by 9 billion naira. A former minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Senator Bala Mohammed, who is now the governor of Bauchi State, was said to have brought a request for the additional 9 billion naira to complete the project in 2012, while the edifice was awarded in 2009 at 7 billion naira. It was gathered that no fresh work had been done on the site since 2013. So you can see, by going this historical lane or memory lane, I have given you a breakdown to show you that there is already a structure for the Vice President that are being built since 2009, but was abandoned in 2013. That was the last time work was done on it. But the structure itself had reached advanced stages to the extent that parts of it had already, there had been installation of split air conditioning system and other facilities. And Osibanjo, right from 2016, 2017 up to 2019, had been saying that it was a waste of resources to go and build a new structure. That the new structure that was even started in 2009 was a misapplication of resources. That Aguda House, where he was staying, was spacious enough, was good enough for the vice president. Now, you would have thought that a caring government, given the situation in the country today, given the rate of the naira to the dollar, given the crisis in the country, given the poverty level in the country, given the lack of so much facilities in education, in agriculture, in infrastructure, in the health sector, that they should be thinking of how to put resources in all those places. Now, the FCT minister who put it in the budget of FCT for 2024, there are so much poverty. You need to go to the area councils in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and you see poverty walking in four legs. No roads in most of the communities. There's no roads, no water. People are drinking from rivers and what have you in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. That was not a priority for Nyesom Wike. What was a priority for him was to build a brand new residence for Vice President Kashim Shettima. Brand new. He was not even talking about completing the one that was started in 2009, that was abandoned since 2013. He wasn't thinking about that. And he was doubling down that it has to be done. And the National Assembly are just looking at them like that, because it is the National Assembly that approves the budget of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Because as we all know, or should know, the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, is administered by President, whoever is the president. Right now is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And the minister is administering the territory on his behalf. That is why it is the National Assembly that approves the budget of the Federal Capital Territory Administration. Nyesom Wike put 15 billion for the building of a new residence for Kashim Shettima. And Nigerians are saying this is not right given the situation in the country. In any case, like I have shown you here, going memory lane, that we already have a structure that is for the vice president. It's not that the vice president is homeless. He is living in Aguda House. That Aguda House had always been the vice president's residence, and there was nothing wrong with it. Even those who are saying, like a letter that was justifying the building of the abandoned edifice for the vice president, saying that the building is made for, the Aguda House is made for visiting head of state. Why should it be the responsibility of the federal government of Nigeria to provide accommodation for a visiting head of state? They can provide accommodation for themselves. Do they have a resident, an accommodation for when Buhari, when he was president, or if Tinubu goes to US today? Is it the American government that will provide accommodation for Tinubu in Washington, D.C.? He will provide his own accommodation. The Nigerian embassy will make arrangement for his accommodation. So it's a given that any visiting head of state to Nigeria, their embassy will provide accommodation for them. So why do we need to say that Aguda House, where the vice president is living now, is meant for visiting heads of state? Where is that done? Where is that done? So like Osibanjo rightly pointed out, the Aguda House, there is nothing wrong with the Aguda House, where Osibanjo lived throughout. In fact, Osibanjo was not interested in moving to the new mansion, even if it had been completed. You can see what he said in the retreat by the Fountain of Life Church. He was saying that even if it is completed, that it should be put for use for another thing, because he wasn't ready to move there. He was comfortable at the vice president's residence at Aguda House. He was comfortable with it. He had no quarrels with that, because he found it very suitable for him as vice president. And other vice presidents have stayed there, from Namadi Sambo to Alex Ekwueme and so many other people. They have, I think, I don't know whether Alex Ekwueme stayed there when he was vice president in 1979. But the truth of the matter remains that several other people have lived in this Aguda house. There's nothing wrong with it. To suggest building a new house for the vice president. But in any case, in 2019, the administration of Yar'Adua decided that it was necessary to build a new mansion for the vice president in the 3 Arms zone. And they built one. That one is abandoned. Now, if they are so determined to see that the vice president, Kashim Shettima, moved to a new structure outside the Aguda house, what they should have done, a caring government, knowing the state of the economy of Nigeria right now, is to complete the structure that is already being built since 2009 and abandoned in 2013. Why did they abandon it? The Senate at the time abandoned, didn't release money. The governor of Bauchi State now, Bala Mohammed, he was the minister then. He brought a variation of 9 billion to be added to already 7 billion that was already budgeted for the structure. And the Senate at the time said, no, this can't, you can't justify the amount we have already put in that structure, over 6 billion. And now you are talking about adding 9 billion on top of that. The Senate rejected it. And because the Senate rejected that humongous amount that Bala Mohammed brought, that was why Federal Capital Territory Development Authority abandoned the project, and they have been lying waste until Buhari administration came in again, and they begin to talk about completing it. Even as they were talking about completing it, the major beneficiary, somebody who would have stayed there, Professor Yemi Osibanjo, was kicking against it because he would say it was a misapplication of resources. In Osibanjo's estimation, even in 2009, it wasn't necessary. Osibanjo had lived at Aguda House. He enjoyed the place. It was everything he was looking for as a vice president. There was no need for a new one. Now that brings us to Nyesom Wike. Why is Nyesom Wike insisting that that money is necessary to be budgeted for the residents of the FCT? And they are doubling down when people are protesting against that suggestion. When people are saying that this should be shut down by the National Assembly, they are doubling down as if it's a must that they have to build that structure, brand new structure for Kashim Shettima. Even Kashim Shettima is not even circumspect about this kind of issue. I was shocked to see the statement released by Kashim Shettima's office blasting Peter Obi, because there was a statement by Peter Obi in his X handle where Peter Obi was talking about the misapplication, just similar to what Osibanjo said in 2019 and 2017, that was a misapplication of resources. And they were attacking Peter Obi in a statement that was released by the media aide of Kashim Shettima. Instead of being circumspect like former Vice President Yemi Osibanjo, they were mocking Peter Obi, saying that they are still to recover from the loss they suffered in the election. I said, what kind of response is this? These people are misreading the feelings of Nigerians. If they know how angry Nigerians are with the suffering they are passing through, they are not supposed to say a thing like that. Saying that P2B is yet to recover from the shock of the defeat he suffered. What kind of statement is that? Somebody is drawing your attention to the fact that you are applying resources of the state, given the various needs of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Certainly, a house for Kashim Shettima is not part of the top priorities that is needed in Abuja right now. This Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, poverty is walking on 4 legs. Go and visit the area councils. Go and visit Uje Abaji and all these places and see poverty walking on its 4 legs. That is why insecurity, kidnapping of people are rampant in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. In the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, of all places, people cannot sleep with their 2 eyes closed. In most of these area councils, in the communities, instead of taking care of poverty within the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, the government is prioritizing building a new structure for the minister, for the VP, and the VP is also enjoying it. In fact, he needed it, because if not, he could have kept quiet. While Nyesom Wike tried to convince Nigerians why that structure is necessary, but he was enjoying the whole thing. The Vice President's office was enjoying it. The Vice President was enjoying it. That necessitated the issuing of statement, saying that P2B is still mourning his losses. Come on. And you would have thought that they won a free and fair election. Did they win? Welcome back, please. Sorry about that. It was a technical hitch. I never expected it. It's quite unfortunate. But we are talking about the budget of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, where the Minister of the FCT budgeted 15 billion naira for the residents of the Vice President. And many Nigerians are kicking against it. Among those who have kicked against it is the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, who considered it a misapplication of resources. And instead of the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, to look at it from the perspective of its importance in terms of prudent management of scarce resources in the country, they were mocking Peter Obi that he lost in the election, that he's yet to overcome the shock of his loss in the election, which was really unnecessary. It was unnecessary because even they should know by now, the APC should know by now, that most Nigerians do not believe that they won a free and fair election. So it is not something that they should be raising their shoulders, talking about how they defeated others. The reason why you can see the fans of Manchester United, if Manchester United beat Chelsea or Chelsea beat Man U, why they can afford to brag is because everyone knows that at least in the Premiership, the match was free and fair. Now, if the 2023 presidential election was free and fair, there is no way APC could have won it. So it is not something that APC should be raising shoulder, mocking P2B, who draw attention to the fact that they are not supposed to be prioritizing the house of the Vice President when there are already so much needs to be met in the country. So that's what we are talking about this morning in this live broadcast, that we already have a structure for the vice president. That structure that was abandoned since 2013. Nyesom Wike should rather go and complete that structure if there is any need to even complete the structure. That structure should have been used for another thing. It wasn't necessary in 2009, according to Professor Yemi Osibanjo, and it wasn't necessary today. So it is not something that Nyesom Wike and co should be insisting that has to be done in the 2024 budget of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. That is the fact. They can go and sample independent opinion of people on the streets of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. A house for the vice president is not the priority. It's not supposed to be the priority of the Federal Capital Territory administration. What should be their priority is how to provide housing for the people, how to build roads in the area councils, how to provide water in the area councils. All these things are lacking in the area councils. The basic amenities are lacking in the area councils. The only place you see workable facilities in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, is in the Federal Capital Territory city, Federal Capital Territory, the city itself. That's the only place you can see functional facilities. So Nyesom Wike had a lot in his hand that he could do to alleviate the suffering of people of residents of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, majority of whom live in the area councils. Majority of the residents live in the area councils. So let him not be deceived about the facilities that are working at the city center in Abuja and think that Abuja is a developed area. He should go to the area councils, and he will realize that it is a misapplication of resources, as Obi pointed out, to allocate 15 billion. And it's not only Obi, several Nigerians, several reasonable Nigerians have complained about this, that it was unfair to allocate such a huge amount of money to build a brand new residence for Kashim Shettima. And if there must be a new building for Kashim Shettima that he has to pack out of Aguda House, what they need to do is to complete the structure that is in the 3-arm zone that was started in 2009, awarded by the administration of Yaradua, and complete it. Already it has reached advanced stage to the level that split air conditioning system had already been installed. It's as simple as that. So if split AC are already in some parts of the structure, it means it has reached a level that is just a small work to be done, and it will become livable. Remember that there was a time this same residence that was abandoned became an issue in the National Assembly. At that time, Dino Melaye was the Senate Committee Chairman on the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, when 250 million was budgeted to build the gatehouse of this structure I'm telling you about that was abandoned. If you recall, you can Google it. 250 million budgeted for gatehouse for Osibanjo's resident. There was a lot of uproar at that time that 250 million was being budgeted to build a gatehouse for Osibanjo's residence. That residence is what I'm talking about, that is still there. If there must be any need for Kashim Shettima to abandon Aguda House, they should go and repair that house. They should go and put it in order. It's a brand new house. Nobody had ever lived there. Osibanjo never moved there. Namadi Sambo never moved there. It's a brand new house. Since they are looking for a brand new house, for Kashim Shettima. It is still brand new. Nobody had lived there, even though there are reports that a conditioning system and some other facilities have been put there. Nobody had lived there. It's a brand new residence. They can repair it. They can put it, rehabilitate it for Kashim Shettima. But the idea of building afresh a new structure is what Nigerians could not understand. Most reasonable people are still trying to understand why the Federal Capital Territory Administration could even contemplate the idea of budgeting 15 billion for the house, for a brand new Vice President house for Kashim Shettima. Where is that done, given the situation in the country? What kind of squander mania do we need to tolerate in this country? You have already an abandoned Vice President's house that you ought to go and complete. You want to build a new one. And even the Vice President is enjoying the situation, issuing a statement condemning P2B for criticizing this budget of 15 billion to build a new house for Kashim Shettima. It means that the government is insensitive. And it appears the government is totally insensitive. The other day I was watching how Nyesom Wike was giving order that they should go and demolish people's houses. They should go and demolish houses. They should go and demolish structures. This is despite the situation in the country. In a country like Nigeria, where you have 19 million housing deficit, instead of the government providing houses, they take delight in demolishing the few houses that are available. It's not as if they demolish, they build a new one for the people. No. They demolish it and the rich grab the land. It's all about land grabbing. So they are insensitive. Because if they are not insensitive, by the kind of uproar that have arisen over this allocation, Nyesom Wike would have humbly withdrawn that budget, especially that 15 billion. Cancel it because it was unnecessary. It is unfortunate that it is happening. And these things are happening because those in leadership, they take Nigerians for granted. And why they take Nigerians for granted, they know that whatever they do during the election, they are not going to allow Nigerians to vote. So if we are living in a country where there are consequences for the actions of government, Nyesom Wike will not be talking the way he talks. He will not be bragging the way he brags about demolishing people's houses, knowing that the people he's demolishing their houses, he's going to ask for their votes in the next 4 years. But already they have looked at Nigerian people. Nigerian votes don't matter. They will always have a way of getting the votes anyways. So they can afford to do anything they like, knowing that the votes don't count. Because if they live in a society where votes count, before you go to demolish people's structures, before you do anything as a government, you will think twice about it. Look at what Jimo Ibrahim said on national television when he was being interviewed by Segun Okumbale in Channels television. Segun was telling him that, look, this thing that is going on about this 15 billion naira budgeted, that it was unnecessary. The senator said 15 billion is just barely about $15 million. Jimo Ibrahim said it was barely $15 million. So Shehu Kumbale was telling him, look, one day the poor will come out to eat the rich. He said, forget about it, they won't do anything like that. Because they have already looked at Nigerian people, that Nigerian people are so docile that they can take anything from politicians. That's why they act with impunity. That's why they do as they like. because they know that votes don't count. Because where votes count, you will be careful how you treat the people of Nigeria. You treat them with respect. You will know that even as a minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, it is people that put you there. But when you know that it's not people that put you there, you were able to maneuver your way and be there by whatever means. And then the court has already strengthened your hand. You can do and undo. You can say anything you like. You can talk down on people, knowing that even in the election, if they vote against you, the vote will miraculously turn in your favor. And then you go to the court will stamp it that you are right. You are the duly elected, whatever. That's why they can afford to do anything they like. That's why they can afford to defend the indefensible. You have already a structure for the vice president, and you are insisting that a brand new one be built for the vice president. And the vice president himself is clapping. Unlike Yemi Osibanjo, who was even against that kind of thing. The present vice president was happy about it, was defending it. This is despite the level of poverty in the country. This is despite the fact that people cannot even afford a loaf of bread now in Nigeria. Do you know how much a bread is sold in Nigeria today? Do you know what they were selling bread in Nigeria in 2015? Go and check the price of bread in 2015. Go and check the price of bread before May 29, 2023. And check the price of bread today. For those who still can afford to eat bread. In that kind of, if it were to happen in an Arab world, we have seen what happened in other countries. We have seen what happened in Jordan, what happened in Egypt, when the price of bread increased by a few cents. Now people are paying thousands of naira to have bread. Some bread that were being sold 500 naira before, they are now 1,500, 2,000. And you are running such a country, you think that your priority should be a new building for the vice president, and not about how to improve agriculture in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. It's not about how to provide housing for the area councils, how to provide roads for the area councils. Instead of doing that, you are prioritizing a house for one man and his family, and perhaps those in his office. Where is that done? Which sane country do you get that kind of thing? And the reason why it's happening in Nigeria is because votes don't count in Nigeria. And we have seen it manifest in 2023 election, where votes don't count. Because votes count. Those who are in leadership today, they will fear the Nigerian people. They will respect the Nigerian people. They will not talk to the Nigerian people anyhow. And they will not bring to the budget unreasonable proposals. They will be very careful in the preparation of their budget. They will be very careful. Look at it. 5 billion was budgeted for students' loans for the whole country. But 15 billion was budgeted for Kashim Shettima's one house. For the whole of Nigeria. And Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world. It means that there are students in tertiary institutions who cannot afford to pay the increase in school fees in Nigeria universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. Millions. What was allocated in the budget for them was 5 billion, so that they can have access to loan to fund their education. But Kashim Shettima, 15 billion was budgeted to build a mansion for him. Where is that done? If not in a country where those in leadership know that they were not really voted for by the people, they are just there for themselves. They were just there for themselves. Because if they are there for the people of Nigeria, they will do the things that the people of Nigeria want. They will fear the people. And because votes don't count, they know that even in 2027, even if they demolish all the houses of people in Nigeria, INEC will still announce them as the winner in 2027. If they know that INEC cannot be able to announce them, that they have to work and convince Nigerians to re-elect them in 2027, they will not be so brazenly demolishing people's houses and talking anyhow on live television, talking down on Nigerian people, disrespecting the people of Nigeria. It's because they know that there's nothing Nigerian people can do. This is what they call state capture. Nigerian people can't do a damn. They can't do it. Jimo Ibrahim confirmed it in that interview at Channels Television. He said, forget about them. Not today. We have been hearing it. Say Nigerian people will not do anything. Segun Okumbole was telling him, say, look, one day Nigerian people will revolt. He say, forget them. Not today will they hear this kind of story. So forget about it. Nigerians will not do anything. They have read Nigerians so well. So that's why they can act anyhow they like. They can put anything they like in the budget. They can defend it. And those of us who talk, we can only speak our mind. We can only bring it to the perspective. Like now, I'm sure that many of you don't know how much that had been budgeted for a vice president house. And there is already one structure already in existence. Yet Nyesom Wike is talking about building a brand new one for Kashim Shettima. 15 billion budgeted. Meanwhile, 5 billion was budgeted by the federal government for students' loan scheme. Who does that? Which country does that? In fact, that 15 billion ought to have been budgeted or more for the students' loan scheme. And Kashim Shettima should continue to live at that Agoda house. Osibanjo lived there for 8 years. Namadi Sambo lived there for 5 years. Other people have lived there. Jonathan lived there. And there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing structurally wrong with it. Nothing about it is wrong. In fact, Osibanjo so loved that place that he wasn't even ready to move to the new structure that they are building at the 3-arm zone for the vice president, which was abandoned. He wasn't eager to move there. He was comfortable with Agoda House. So what are we talking about? What are we talking about? We are talking about the fact that it is wrong at a time the country is passing through so much stress, at a time that Nigerian people are being told to endure, at a time they remove fuel subsidy and people are suffering. Businesses are closing. People are losing jobs. Kidnappings are on the increase. Insurgency, all kinds of insecurity everywhere, all tied down to poverty and lack in the country. Yet, those in power didn't think it was necessary to do the right thing. And when they get it wrong and the thing is being pointed out to them, they begin to mock the people, telling them that you are still suffering from shock of losing the election, as if they won a free and fair election. Could they have won a free and fair election? Could they have won free and fair election? On a serious note, could they have won free and fair election? Because if they had won free and fair election, they would. It would make sense if they mock those they supposedly defeated. But you and I know that independent verifications, even the European Union, knows how they emerge as victorious as they claim. In fact, in the next few years, when the European Union countries, when the American government will declassify the kind of reports that the ambassadors were sending back home, we will see the real way the Western world viewed us as INEC announced those who won the election. You think that the American ambassador, they didn't know those who won this election? You think they didn't know? A day is coming when the State Department will declassify the information about Nigerian election of 2023, and then we will see the facts about what happened in the election. And it will become obvious that those who are priding themselves that they won election in 2023, that Nigerians know how they won it, the international community know how they won it. It is nothing to be proud about, nothing to write home about. If they have conscience, they shouldn't even be so proud, so brazenly proud that they won an election. They shouldn't be, because Nigerians know the truth. In any case, this administration is the first administration in Nigerian democratic history that emerged with the least number of support. Okay, look at it this way. 8.7 million votes was supposedly won by Tinubu, with which he was declared the president of Nigeria. But you can see that despite all the manipulations, P2B has 6.1 million votes, Atiku 6.9 million votes, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso 1.4 million votes. If you calculate it, it's almost 15 million votes that voted against Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So Bola Ahmed Tinubu and those who he appointed should be able to know that, look, they were rejected by Nigerians. Majority of Nigerians never voted for them. They're supposed to be doing things to bring them in. They're supposed to be doing something to make them to love them, so that in the next election, people may look at them favorably. But it appears they have grown so brazenly that they feel that they don't need the votes of Nigerians. They can do anything to Nigerians, and then INEC will still announce them as the winner of elections, and the Supreme Court will still endorse them that they have won. If they had known if there is any way that the election could be free and fair in Nigeria, the leaders will be able to respect the Nigerian people. They will not talk down on Nigerian people. They will not carry out policies that will hurt Nigerian people. So that the work that Nigerian people have to do now is to see that democracy is defended, is to see that their votes count. As long as the votes don't count, Nigerians should know it. They have to continue to be living with the kind of things that Nyesom Wike can do, the kind of things that Bola Ahmed Tinubu can do. There's little they can do about it. As long as votes don't count, they can do anything to Nigerians. Nigerians should be ready to take any shit. Nigerians should be ready to take anything, because their votes don't count. Until the votes count, the leaders will not respect the Nigerian people. The leaders will continue to talk down on Nigerian people, because they know even if they demolish the whole place in Nigeria, demolish the whole of Abuja, demolish the whole of Lagos, the next election, your vote don't count. If your vote count, they will not dare try it. That is the truth. The votes don't count. What Nigerians should work now towards is to make sure that the votes count and to defend the votes. But that's a story for another day. Thank you for being this part of this live transmission. I'm so glad, and thank you those of you who were able to join this process. God bless you. God bless our country, Nigeria, and we pray that our democracy gets strengthened. We pray that things get better in our country. We pray that we have leaders who care for the people, because right now we have leaders who care only for themselves. But this country needs leaders that care for the people. That is how countries develop. Singapore moved from third world to first world because they have leaders that cares. leaders that appreciate their people, leaders that respect their people, leaders that know that votes counts in their countries. That was why Singapore was able to move from third world to first world. China was able to lift over 100 million people out of poverty in the shortest possible time in recorded history, because they have leaders that think about the people more than they think about themselves. India has been able to do exceedingly well. Look at India, look at Pakistan. India and Pakistan were created the same day. They were granted independence in 1948. Look at Pakistan, look at India. India has moved ahead because the Indians have leaders who think about the people more than themselves. Look at Pakistan. They are no different from Nigeria. Corruption, everything you can think of that is wrong in building a nation is there in Pakistan. The only thing that Pakistan can boast of is just because they have been able to produce an atomic bomb. But for that, nothing to write home about Pakistan, because their leaders treat their people the same way Nigerian leaders treat the people. But India, China, Singapore, and several other Asian tiger countries, where people value their leaders, they have been able to move their people from poverty to prosperity in the shortest possible time. This is despite the fact that many of these countries were colonized by the British, by the French, and what have you. They have been able to achieve results, but we are still where we are because we have leaders who literally impose themselves on the people. Because they will impose themselves on the people, they don't care about the people. And because they have already weaponized poverty, the people cannot do anything to them. They feel they are on top of the world. That was why Jimo Ibrahim could be able to say that forget about Nigerians. They can't do anything. They will take any shit. Nothing will happen. And it's as he said it, and that is how it is. So what can we say? It is for us to continue to strengthen our democracy, continue to push for a democracy, a voting system that will be technologically proof that they can be able to manipulate. In 2023 presidential election, they could not have manipulated it without manipulating the technology. Because if the server had been allowed to work, electronic transmission of results had happened in real time as INEC promised, there is no way the APC would have been in power today. So Nigerians should continue to insist the application of technology should be improved upon as the only way to get rid of the present group of people that have held this country hostage since 1999. Thank you for being part of this. God bless you and yours.